Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is supported by the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Telecommunications Access Minnesota, and Nisswa Tax Service. Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Across from City Hall in Nisswa and online at nisswatax.com.
Thank you and good evening. Welcome to Currents. The slide you just saw said with Ray Gildow. Ray is off tonight. Ray coaches basketball and they're in tournaments, so good luck Cardinals tonight. I'm Dan Hegstead substituting for Ray, and we appreciate that you're here, and welcome to our guests tonight. They are Randy Olson, Vice President for Economic Opportunity of the Initiative Foundation, and Tom Hagelin, who's President of Lindar Corporation. And we are going to continue the discussion from 2 weeks ago talking about workforce issues. We're pleased to have an audience tonight. We don't usually have an audience in our studio, but we have the Girl Scouts, Troop 643 from Brainerd is here tonight, so glad to have them. They promised to be quiet. And they brought cookies, so we appreciate them, and we'll let them stay in the studio as long as they're good. We're going to talk about workforce issues tonight, and there's so many things to talk about. We were discussing before we went on the air, and we almost had to stop because, no, we want to save this discussion for our audience. Ray always says we are talking about what you're talking about, and we know you're talking about jobs and the workforce. And so that's why we're here, is to answer those questions for you, and these are the folks who know. Before we really get into it, though, Randy, can you tell us a little bit about the Initiative Foundation and what you do?
Well, the Initiative Foundation was organized back in the mid-1980s to really combat, at that time, economic distress in central Minnesota. It's one of 6 foundations funded through the McKnight Foundation, and we are celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. Specific to our foundation, we have programs to build communities, to also build nonprofit capacity. We have an early childhood coalition program, and I'm directly responsible for the lending and investments that we do to small businesses in our region. And that's a very unique concept for the foundation world, to loan money and to invest money in small businesses, but we've been doing it mostly successfully for the 25 years that we've been in existence.
And you serve, I believe it's 13 counties in Central?
14 counties. So it's generally the far north and west suburbs of the metro area, Stearns County, which includes St. Cloud, the Brainerd Lakes area. We go as far east as Pine County, and then as far north and west as Todd and Wadena counties.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming here tonight. We appreciate you volunteering your time to inform our audience.
Thank you.
And Tom, Lindar Corporation, I've known you're over there for many years, but I'm never sure what you do.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, we're a company that's been around for about 17 years now. Essentially, we're a plastics thermoforming company. And our customer base and product line consists of packaging for food, medical business, some high volume type things, as well as paint sundry markets. And then we also have another division that is in the engineered OEM type component parts. And through the years, we continue to grow and invest with the use of technology and having to continue to advance in those areas. We've been through the ups and downs of the last couple of years, and this topic of employment and economic times is real fitting for us. So we're a company that's well established, we're very solid, we have great things on the horizon, and appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Very good. And you've also been very involved in our local Chamber of Commerce and various committees and leadership positions. And so
I have been involved with the Chamber, currently on the school board as well, and recipient and user of the Initiative Foundation for a number of years, and both in their economic programs as well as their educational programs.
Excellent. So you are the people that know you know the answers to the questions we have here. So. What are the biggest issues in the workforce these days? Everybody's talking about jobs, jobs, jobs. It goes deeper than that, though. The headline in the paper the other day was unemployment in Brainerd, 18%, I think it said. But that's just Brainerd. It's lower nationally, it's lower in the county and so forth. What are you finding? Who's looking for work? Are they finding work? How do all those numbers make sense to us?
Well, I'd be happy just to share a little bit what we're seeing ourselves as well as our fellow manufacturing companies that are in our line of work. One of the things that as we look to hire, and we have been doing a fair amount of hiring in the last 3 to 4 months now, true that obviously the unemployment is high and there's a number of applicants that are out there. And there was, I believe, an earlier thought that perhaps there could be some good deals had, if you will. And because of a good skilled workforce that's out there, we've been real careful as we bring new team members on board that they're looking at it for the long haul, that they're looking at it as a career. And with that, then we might be a little bit unique or different in that we are continuing to offer it's a full-time, year-round. We have all the benefits that go with it. We've not scaled back in that area because we want to continue to attract good, high-quality team members that are out there. And it's been a nice opportunity for us to be able to do that, and hopefully for the new folks that have joined our organization, it's what they are looking for as well. And so I think with having that pool, we've been able to expand, and we see the future just continuing to do that as well.
And your applicants obviously are qualified, or are you having to look harder to find qualified applicants? You
know, it's quite interesting. In fact, just this afternoon, I was visiting out on the floor and with one of our shift leads, and he had talked about. I was asking about how the training is going. We just had 5 new people start on Monday, and his comment, and he had commented about this a few weeks ago when we had another 5 new folks join us, in that the applicants and the candidates and the folks that we are hiring are really well qualified. They're learning. They're doing a great job for us. Now the applicants, we certainly see those that are overqualified, and would like to fill and create positions for these folks. And we certainly, in some areas, are trying to staff perhaps a little bit heavy because of what we're anticipating. So as there's some good applicants out there, we want to try to bring them on board.
So you sound pretty optimistic about the next couple of years.
Optimistic about it. I've seen a lot of comments about businesses and even the government endorsed the idea for businesses to hire folks. But I don't know how a company goes about hiring people if they don't have a need for them. And you know, if you see something in the horizon that's coming, you know, that's what we're doing. We'll hire in advance. It takes time for training, those kind of things, and to be able to get some folks on board. But to hire just because unemployment is high, I don't see how that works.
Okay. Randy, tell us from your perspective from the Initiative Foundation. You're doing a lot of lending.
Correct. At any one given time, we have loans out to about 100 businesses in the region, and so we're not tracking jobs like a state agency would track jobs, but we do know anecdotally that the worst times are behind us, and that employers are hiring people back, but at a fairly slow rate. And I think that there's continued uncertainty among many employers. They don't know how sustainable this economic recovery is going to be. So we have seen trends where rather than hiring full-time employees with benefits, let's hire people on a part-time basis or on a contract basis. Let's see how they work out for us. And then at some point in time, we may hire them as full-time employees. So a lot of caution just because of the uncertainty that exists in this present economy.
We were talking earlier about how so much of what we thought was true or was true has just changed because of this downturn. That's just been 3 years, but some pretty massive shifts in the template that we were used to.
So there have been a lot of people that have been displaced in the last three years. A lot of people who are underemployed or unemployed. And the thought of starting a business, I think we've traditionally had a profile of somebody who's worked for somebody else and they've decided that it's time to go out on their own, and they're probably in their 30s and 40s and they've set aside X amount of cash. Well, now we see people that are in their late 50s, and we see people that are returning from conflict in Afghanistan or Iraq that are unable to find employment. Some underserved communities, people that simply are looking to start a business, and they definitely have a different profile than that traditional profile that we had several years ago. Don't always have the cash, the equity to put into a business, and so it involves more creative financing on our part.
And that's part of what you do, though, is help with that financing. So.
Correct. The extent to which we can take our small loan fund and leverage it with other sources of funds is very, very important, especially in today's economy.
You mentioned that folks a little older, probably my age now, mid-50s, looking at making some changes. Maybe the equity isn't in the house, though, that they expected, but they may have a retirement account. Are they're cashing those out, or is that smart?
The traditional sources for financing a business have been home equity loans and also retirement accounts. Well, equity in homes has declined, and the retirement accounts for many people have also declined in value. So they still continue to be the principal sources, but oftentimes we have to look at some other financing to bring into the equation. That could be through an economic development organization, it could be a city loan fund, a county loan fund, and sometimes we may have to have the seller of the business actually participate in the financing, helping to finance the new borrower as well.
Are these folks generally qualified to run a business? Do you get into that at all? Are they prepared for what's involved in actually making a business successful?
I think that for many people, there is sort of a romantic notion of what it takes to be involved in a business, but as Tom can attest, it's a 24/7 job. You're never really truly off. You've got to be on all the time, and you have to be aware of all the uncertainties that will face you on a day-to-day basis, and know that for the most part you can't delegate those issues to anybody else. You have to take care of them yourself. So it's not for everybody. But on the other hand, if we didn't have a pipeline of risk takers and entrepreneurs and small businesses, the young women who are here tonight are not going to be employed by many of the traditional employers that are in existence. They're new employers that we can't even fathom what products and services will be offered. So we got to continue to feed that pipeline and have that risk tolerance.
Yeah, I've heard that it used to be that smart people knew a lot. Today, smart people know how to find the answer.
That's very true.
And that's where these folks are going to come in, because the job they're going to get probably doesn't exist and nobody knows about it yet.
Correct.
So they're going to have to be very flexible.
One of the things with that, and over the last couple of years, I've had opportunities with different folks coming and looking at perhaps getting into business and wanting to visit about that, or looking at some opportunities. And one of the things I just put a plug in that because, as you mentioned, Randy, you need to have the passion for it. You might be good in one particular area or something. You're creative, you're good in financing, you're good in sales, whatever it might be, but you really need to have the whole bucket. And one of the things I would encourage for anyone that's out there that's considering getting into business, not only getting involved with the Initiative Foundation, but our local Small Business Development Center is very, very good at helping with the counseling and asking those tough questions about your passion and the finances and what it really takes to be involved with that. And our local Economic Development Center as well, Bladek, is very good at helping with that. It's great opportunities, those resources are out there, and we really need to take advantage of that. I did that 17, 18 years ago when I first purchased the company and moved on, and I still go back and rely on those resources. Very, very useful.
I've known a number of folks that have worked with them for the business plan, and it's
Yep,
an eye-opener.
right.
They also offer the going into business for yourself.
They do.
One evening kind of reality check. And I've always said just because you can cook doesn't mean you can run a restaurant. It's
Absolutely,
two completely different skills.
Right.
Well, and I think the other element in all of this is that most of us don't, from a practical standpoint, write business plans every day. So it's as much an art form as anything else. And so the extent to which you can really think through your business concept and understand what the competitive nature is of what you're doing and understanding the financial obligations, because if you don't have that roadmap, you're not going to convince anybody else to loan you money or invest in your company.
Sure. When I look at the paper, look at the help wanteds, I see a lot in healthcare. Obviously, that's a growth sector. Is that something you'd advise these young folks to look into, or is that going to continue to grow? Are there other growth sectors that we're going to see?
One of the things, being involved with the Chamber in the work that they've done and the economic, with Bladek and the work that they've done, certainly over in what they call their 2020 vision, and through the studies have looked at the what areas are growing, and certainly the health in this area is one of those areas that provides a lot of opportunities, as well as some of the manufacturing industrial side that are seeking to bring into this area. And it seems like certainly when you think of the health field, it's so broad beyond being a doctor or a nurse. There's so many things that are associated in that area that opportunities seem to be there, in particular in this area.
And everything's changing so fast, I don't know how they possibly keep up with the technology and skills. That's got to be constant, I would think, especially in that field. But
Right.
The other consideration with healthcare as it relates to medical products and devices, it's been a real nucleus of activity, especially in Minnesota, and it provides a huge export market as well too. So it provides a tremendous amount of stability for businesses that are looking to establish themselves locally, but then also to look at exporting opportunities. And then just demographically, with our population aging and people living longer, as Tom indicated, I think we're just sort of on the cusp of understanding what that means to really deal with a much more mature population in our country.
That's a nice way to put it. Thank you. So we're seeing in medical field, other fields are you seeing? The reason I asked a woman who has an employment agency, what's the job market like? What, could I find a job through you if I needed to? She said what she really needs are people with experience and training in CNC machining. And she said, I could place you today, but we're not, the young folks aren't going into that because they were led to believe, her words, that manufacturing is kind of on the downside. You need to get into something else, service sector. So there haven't been as many students graduating with those skills.
I'd like to just touch on that if I can a little bit, Dan. When you look at manufacturing and what we do, and a CNC operator as an example, our business has grown through the use of technology. So when we look at bringing in, we have a struggle in trying to bring in qualified skilled talent. And I look at that in two different ways. One is the soft skills, which maybe we can touch on in a bit, but on the technical side. So when we look for someone that's going to come in and run one of our machines, these are people that are going to they need to understand computers, because all our machines are all computerized.
And that's the CNC.
Well, in that case, that's a smaller type machine that the CNC is a part of that.
Okay.
In
Well,
the
tell
computer.
me what CNC is then. Tell me.
Well, that's using computers for, as an example, with CNC and equipment that's maybe building a tool type thing. So you're going to do all your programming, all your design work on a computer, download it to a machining center. and then that machining center will take care of doing the, if you will, the physical work behind
Okay.
them.
And I've seen these machines in a box with a couple windows, and
Sure,
you just
yes,
let them go,
yeah.
and they make all the noise and the mess in the box. And
Right, it's all.
a few minutes later, you've got a part.
Yeah, so today, in today's manufacturing world, it's much different than before. Our business, in particular, when we look at our food packaging as an example, it's very high volume, very automated. So the folks that we hire, that we have to bring in, because there isn't a broad area of skilled operators in our industry, we're looking for the soft skills. And then we'll train from there.
And soft skills means what?
And the soft skills in our world, and we've talked about this in a lot of the different organizations, including the Initiative Foundation, talk about this a lot, even within our school board. Soft skills being the communication, the ability to work well with each other, being reliable, being dependent, being a contributor to solving problems, versus someone that is unwilling to do that. One of the things I think about when we're interviewing folks and candidates that come in, they really need to be prepared to sell themselves. And if you have a certain skill or certain levels of expertise, provide examples. Be prepared to do that. Communicate. Show us that you really want that particular position because you're qualified.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. And so that the skills are really needed. Now, when we get to, if we're looking for a technical salesman, or as an example, let's say again a machine operator, these are folks that are running a $500,000 to $750,000 piece of equipment that is programmed via computers, and it's monitored. They're having to make changes as the machines are running, again, via the computer. So it's much different than the old days of a manufacturing plant. If you come into our facility in the middle of the day, it's so bright in there as though you are outside. It's very, very clean. It has to be that way for our certification process. So that's one of the downsides of, or one of the things we haven't done a job well enough on the manufacturing side, is to show folks what it's really all about. And so we've really grown. Now with that, we've done it through technology, which means we haven't been able to add as many positions perhaps as we've wanted to, but our positions and the wages that go with that continue to increase. So they're really a technically advanced type role. And when we look at a company of about 100 employees, we only have about half of those folks that are physically on the manufacturing side. These are our operators, our folks that are doing the packing and the QC check. The other half are all support folks. So whether it's administration, financing, sales, quality, a lot of different things that are within our organization as a small company in the manufacturing environment.
So is it safe to say that you're saying that the soft skills are maybe even more difficult to teach? You really like to see people come with those skills.
I mean, they're so difficult to teach, and that's why I keep pushing, and we talk a lot about from the school level, that it has to start at the very, very young age. It's very, it's in my mind, it's impossible for us to teach passion or to teach reliability. You know, the expectation to be on time, be present, be there, and be a productive team member all the time. You just really need to have that. And that's something that hopefully we'll continue to encourage even and foster in the early years of children and growing up, to have that right kind of work ethic. If you come with technical skills, it's a bonus for us.
What would you say to folks who've maybe made some mistakes in the past, maybe have a court record? They can be a challenge to hire, but I've talked to folks who specifically hire them, say this is a chance for you. Some take advantage of it, some don't. What should those folks do? Anything different? They need to be upfront, obviously, about that with you. But
well, again, I don't have any personal experience with this at the Initiative Foundation, but I do know in talking to employers that if you as a prospective employee have any kind of a questionable history, you've got to disclose that during the interviewing process. You don't want that to be discovered on the back end just as you're going to be hired, because you'll lose all credibility with the employer. And I think you know, most people that I know are rational, they're reasonable. If you have a reasonable story to share, I think most people are going to be accepting of that. So I think honesty really has to prevail right from the start.
I would agree with that. I would echo those comments as well, that the assumption that, let's be upfront, be honest about it, the assumption is the lessons learned is the opportunities now.
Okay. Okay. We've just got a couple minutes left here, so isn't it amazing how fast this goes? I told you it would go fast. We've got a list of questions and we hardly got into it. Initiative Foundation, specifically assisting with this recovery as we move forward. You're loaning dollars. Are you doing things different now than you were 2 years ago when it comes to your lending?
We are doing things very differently. We have a focus on still serving a role as an alternative lender, which means that we can fill gaps either for the prospective borrower or for the bank or other primary lenders. About 18 months ago, we introduced, we call it a technical assistance program. It's really business consulting. And it has just been a very, very popular program where we assign consultants to business owners to work out a very specific problem. It could be in marketing, it could be in finance, it could be operations. We have workout turnaround specialists. Okay. And the lessons that I've learned about that service is that money is a tool, but you can really enhance that tool by having these intangible services, these consulting services. And so we're very much committed to continuing our technical assistance program, aggressively seeking more money for loaning or lending and investment purposes, because we feel that there's really credit constraints right now with a lot of banks, so they're simply not loaning the money that they used to loan.
We are out of time, but we want to thank you for volunteering your time to inform us. ifound.org is your website.
Correct.
We are lptv.org. We're talking about what you're talking about, and if you have some things you'd like us to talk about, go to lptv.org, send us an email, and we'll look into that. And you can watch past programs of Currents here on our website. So Ray will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching Currents, where we're talking about what you're talking about.